Right, UFC 300. You've seen the announcement. We've now got Jim Miller and Bobby Green and Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. And before I start, I've just got to say this about the BMF belt. What is the point in the belt? Is the belt just a belt for people who are aging, who are well-known fighters, to just fight for it? Because who would Holloway fight if he won the belt? And I could say the same for Gaethje. Like, it just doesn't make sense in my opinion. Would Holloway fight like a guy like Chandler? God knows. But anyways, this fight here is, in my opinion, now a bad matchup for Max Holloway. Because Gaethje back in the day, when he's trying to get all these fight bonuses, yeah, he's going out there, leaving his chin exposed, swinging, not protecting himself, and looking to knock out his opponent every minute without being defensive. And all that allows for his opponent to do is to catch him and make him look goofy in fights. But he doesn't do that anymore. He has not done that since the Michael Chandler fight. And after watching how he performed in Rafael Fiziev and the fight with Dustin Poirier, it makes me even more confident against Max Holloway. Because with Max Holloway, you'll notice that he holds his hands out right in front of him. And if you're a guy like Gaethje who's going to look to counter-strike, that is the perfect thing you want. Because if your opponent's not having their hands like tucked to their chin when they're throwing punches, or they're not like holding their hands in a position where their chin is completely safe, that benefits Gaethje, because Gaethje is all about throwing hooks and overhands. They're his best punches. And Trevor Whitman has drilled him very well at like using his legs to generate power from the punch. So that being said, I do actually see the fight being a bit similar to the Tony Ferguson Justin Gaethje fight. Like, think back to that Volkanovski fight with Max Holloway. He struggled against people who tend to counter-strike against him. The only exception of counter-strikers where you could argue against it would be against Dustin Poirier, because in that fight Dustin Poirier was actually looking to pressure, but with every punch he was landing, especially the hooks, they would seem to like rocking Max Holloway. And Gaethje, in my opinion, hits way harder than Dustin Poirier. So just imagine Dustin Poirier almost knocked him down. Like, the cage actually saved him, but he's got a great chin anyway, so we can't really call that a knockdown. Plus, look at the fight with Chan Sung Jung. I'm not going to say he was stunned, but what I'm going to say is he's getting put off balance by punches now. And if you're getting put off by punches by an aging Chan Sung Jung, Gaethje, who has got an extremely high accuracy when it comes to throwing punches, will have a field day with that. For example, look at that Tony Ferguson fight. 72% significant striking accuracy. That's ridiculous. For the amount of strikes he threw, that shouldn't happen. I believe he did not even miss one leg kick in that fight. So these are some of the small problems that Max Holloway is going to have to deal with. And Justin Gaethje is now implementing more kicks into his game. I think that's going to be so hard for a guy like Max Holloway to deal with. Because yeah, he's no Yair Rodriguez and he can't snap out the kicks as quick as that. But his head kicks hurt. And when he goes to throw a kick, in your mind, if you're the other fighter, you're worried about the leg kick as well as the high kick, so that can be a distraction in the other fighter's brain. And that's why I think he might land a few of them, and I'm predicting, this is my bold take for the fight, Justin Gaethje is going to be the first fighter to knock him down. He's the hardest hitter he's faced, in my opinion. He's being hit more and more to the chin, which I put in the thumbnail. And when I say hardest hitter in the thumbnail, I'm talking about that he has faced. Not only that, he will not submit him. I know you're going to think, why are you bringing that up? I saw something in like a Tapology comment where it was like, someone thinks he could submit Justin Gaethje. And I get the logic to where Justin Gaethje's BJJ defense is horrific. Look at that fight with Khabib. That is horrific. He's on the ground. He's not even rocked, by the way. And Khabib's in mount. And he just allows him to wrap his legs over the top of him. And then he stands up and now he's in a triangle choke. And he taps out quickly as well. But one thing I'll say to why Max Holloway can't submit him. One, Justin Gaethje's got extremely high takedown defense. Look at that massive slam that Michael Chandler tried to do. It didn't work. If he can't submit Chan Sung Jung, who was in his rock state, on the ground and went for a dance that looked like it was completely locked in and it was tight, I know Chan Sung Young's not a quitter, but I'm telling you right now, you're not going to be able to get that submission on Gaethje. One, because I don't think he can drop him. Two, I don't think he can take him down. So where is the submission going to happen? Not only that, Holloway, in my opinion, he's not on the decline, but he likes fighters who are going to pressure him and allow him to counter-strike and use his face to like intimidate the opponent and throw them off so that he can't get into range. But that's extremely hard to do to Gaethje when he's waiting for you to come to him to then land on his counter. Plus, because he's moving up the weight class, remember, it's going to be even harder to take a guy like Gaethje down. He's already got the elite takedown defense. Now you're bringing in a guy like Max Holloway, whose grappling has looked good recently, but you cannot use that in this weight class as easily as you could at featherweight because the guys are naturally bigger. And Holloway's not going to look big in this weight class. He's going to look natural or maybe even small in this weight class compared to a guy like Gaethje. Plus he's going to be packing in that power. And yeah, Gaethje's 35 and Max Holloway's 32. But at the end of the day, they're both getting older. They've both taken a lot of damage. But I think because of the fact that Holloway's defense offensively is very good, but defensively, apart from the Calvin Kattar fight, it has declined, in my opinion. Just look at the fight with, what was his name? Yair Rodriguez. Like, hands down, eating shots, 1-2, then he fires back another 1-2. The Volkanovski fight, which I don't even need to go into detail. You know what happened. He just got destroyed. He got battered, all from the counter-striking. And that's what Gaethje will do, unless he goes back to his old ways and starts standing and banging with him in the middle, and not in a weird way, by just trying to trade blows. That's the only way where Holloway might benefit. But apart from that, I don't see how he can benefit, because another thing Gaethje does very well, throwing three-piece combinations which do severe damage. So if you think that Dustin Poirier got close to knocking him down, Gaethje should be able to do it with that style, as long as he doesn't just keep pressuring and he waits for Max Holloway to become aggressive and try and close off the cage. But by doing so, like I've mentioned before, he's going to keep getting countered. And one thing that Max Holloway benefits in the fight is cardio. Like, if he was smart, because Gaethje's going to hold up that guard quite high, he's going to have to smash that body, because we saw in the fight with Poirier and Holloway in, I believe, rounds 3 and 4, when Holloway was working the body early, it was starting to make Dustin Poirier tire. And if you can do that against a guy like Gaethje, he can get tired. But in my opinion, I think Gaethje actually has some good cardio. Like, in later rounds in the fight, he's good at like grinding through the tough moments. Look at the Michael Johnson fight. Later on in the fight, he grinds through the pain, makes Michael Johnson quit. In the fight with, what was his name? And no, I'm not going to talk about the fight with Eddie Alvarez and Poirier, because that wasn't a cardio issue. That was an issue of he just got clipped because he was being very aggressive, trying to get into a war with them, and that's what happens. So yeah, Max Holloway is very good at moving his head when throwing punches, but when he's coming to be defensive now, apart from that Calvin Kattar fight, he is getting clipped with some heavy shots, which have had some people thinking he got rocked in that Chan Sung Young fight, but like I mentioned before, I think it was just a bit off balance. And I also think them leg kicks on a guy like Max Holloway are going to cause him massive problems. Remember, Max Holloway has to use his footwork to do very well with his striking. He's not one of those guys who just goes forwards and backwards. He's going side to side, a lot of lateral movement. And if Gaethje can take them away with very heavy leg kicks, it's going to have to make him fight centrally. And that's what I think is going to happen to him. So I do think this fight could end up similar to the Tony Ferguson fight, where he gets like battered and gets like a massive beat down on him because of how powerful Gaethje's punches are and because of how defensive and how he can counter compared to how he did before when he was being aggressive. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. Risky fight for Max Holloway to take. There's not really much reward for either fighter, in my opinion. I mean, maybe more for Gaethje because he can fight for the belt after against Islam if he wins this. But if he loses, I don't know what you do with him. He hasn't got that many more fights left in him. And for Holloway, it's maybe to get him into the division and make him ranked. But yeah, not a good fight for Holloway in my opinion. So thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.